Hey guys, we are going to tell you the story of one of the most important textile companies all around the world. It all started in 1963 in the city of A Coruña, where Amancio Ortega opened his first shop called Confecciones Goa. A few years later, Confecciones Goa grew and opened new shops throughout Spain. In 1975, Zara, again in A Coruña, inaugurated its first shop. Just 10 years later, the INDITEX group was born. Currently, INDITEX is an international company, owns more than 6,700 shops, spread all around the world, and 8 brands that you should know. Its profits are breathtaking since it has turned over around 20,000 million euros.
But everything that glitters isn't gold. Due to the globalization and because it was also a common practice in the textile industry, INDITEX decided to move away a part of its production to countries where the labor and manufacturing costs are really low, like Brazil, Cambodia, Indonesia, and so on. In 2011, INDITEX was involved in one of the most scandalous cases of labor exploitation. Zara owned INDITEX faces fines in Brazil over poor working conditions claim. Zara accused of alleged slave labor in Brazil. So, to sum up, in this particular case, INDITEX acted wrong in an imprudent way. This meant a lack of the prudence virtue. Fortunately, INDITEX knew how to redirect its actions towards good. As Aristotle once said, virtue is not merely a state in conformity with the right principle, but one that implies the right principle, and the right principle in moral conduct is prudence.
So we can say that INDITEX is an ethically sick organization. An ethically sick organization is an organization which contributes to the human impoverishment of its members, the people involved in the organization mission, and everyone who is affected by its activity. But what really happened? In the textile suppliers' factories, working conditions were extremely poor. The 90% of its workers were young women who were forced to work up to 16 hours daily. Moreover, their salaries were below the minimum required in the country. What did INDITEX do to sort all this out? INDITEX blamed its suppliers for treating their workers in slave conditions. INDITEX also said that they didn't know anything about this. They also blamed them for breaking their ethic code. The company swore to improve the workers' working conditions and to compensate them for the damages caused. They claimed that all its factories were aware of the existence of an ethic code, which they must obey. This ethic code includes quality, behavior and sustainability rules. But INDITEX went further, brought labor unions to these factories to defend the labor rights.
As the theory says, to cooperate to the common good, every organization has to start by respecting the human rights. But since then, how does the INDITEX reputation change? A bad action cannot damage all the positive ones. We want to highlight some of the positive actions of INDITEX. INDITEX has a behavior code. INDITEX is committed to improve the working conditions in its Asiatic factories.
Amancio Ortega donates 320 million euros to public health service in order to buy high-technology equipment destined to cancer treatment. INDITEX joins the Global Compact of the United Nations. INDITEX doesn't hire anyone who is under 16 years old. INDITEX stops working with suppliers who treat their workers as slaves. INDITEX is involved in environment preservation by using sustainable raw materials, reducing the use of water and energy, and so on.
Which decisions could INDITEX have made better? INDITEX should have done an exhaustive control not only of the working conditions of its factories but also of its workers, for instance by doing audits periodically. These are the cardinal virtues. They are connected and are essential for the organizations.
So, what can we learn from all this? INDITEX has turned its vicious circle into a virtuous circle. If every single person of the organization comes to ethical decisions, this has an influence in the motivation at the workplace. This also leads in the organizational culture. There is trust inside the organization, and as a consequence of all this, the organization will have a remarkable reputation.